Hey book lovers, Victoria here and you're watching My Books and Me. So now I am back with video 2 in the regular 3 video thing. I'm here with my wrap up for November, and I am quite surprised. I managed to read 5 books during November. I haven't been reading very much lately. I don't think I've done a wrap up for a while now. There are 4 books that I've read since, I want to say September. I think I read 4 books in September and October, but I didn't bother doing a whole video for them. I kind of can't be bothered now. So anyway, my November wrap up. 5 books. Absolutely insane. Can I also just point out, I read 3 of these books in 24 hours. And I read 1 of them twice in 24 hours. Yeah. Crazy. And also, the biggest book, I read most of it in a day. So, I mean, I think I did pretty good this month. So, let's get into the actual wrap-up. So, the first 4 books will come as no surprise to anyone if you've been following me on social media, if you've looked at my blog recently, if you've looked at my Twitter account. Like, really, if you don't know what these books are, then I'm glad you aren't following me in those places, because you probably would have been so annoyed with me this month for talking about these books. But they are the Too Far books by Abby Glines, the first 4 books in the Rosemary Beach series. So we have Fallen Too Far, Never Too Far, Forever Too Far, and Rush Too Far. These books follow Blair, Wynne, and Rush Finlay. After the death of her mother, Blair seeks out her father, who walked out on her and her mother 5 years previous, and she arrives at the house of Rush Finlay, who is her father's new stepson, and her father has actually flitted off to France with her new stepmother. And Rush initially doesn't like her, doesn't want her staying at the house. He's in the middle of throwing a party. He just does not care. But Blair literally has no money. She has no gas in her ute, in her truck. She has no gas in her truck, to the point where she can't even leave the property. So Rush takes pity on her, says, "Look, just sleep in the maid's cupboard, which happens to be under the stairs, and we will talk tomorrow. We can call your father and see what to do." Blair's plan was to stay with her father, get a job until she had enough money saved up to get her own place to live. She plans on doing that with Rush as well. And Rush gives her a month to save up and things like that. She ends up getting a job at the country club as a cart girl, and she gets not only paid well, but she gets a fortune in tips, and she's adamant that she'll be out of the house within like 2 weeks. However, Blair and Rush are very drawn to each other, especially after Blair comes home one night after work and finds Rush going at it with some girl on the porch outside for everyone, well, not everyone, for Blair to see. And somehow Rush knows that she's seen him, and he kind of liked it and warned her off him, because Rush has just had a string of one-night stands for like his adult life, and just tosses the girl to the curb the next morning. He's not the kind of guy who cuddles and knows that Blair deserves someone better than that, but they can't help be drawn to one another. And they end up hooking up. Naturally, obviously, that's hardly a spoiler, but there is a big family secret that Rush is keeping that could destroy everything that they are like doing with one another, and it's so good. So these are new adult novels, if you didn't know. They do have sex scenes in them, just FYI. So if you want to read new adult but don't want to get that new adult, probably don't read these. But if you do want to get into new adult and don't mind the steamy scenes, definitely recommend it. The first book is told from Blair's perspective. Books 2 and 3 are alternating perspectives between both characters, and then the 4th book is Rush's perspective, but it is Rush's perspective of the first book, which is really, really good. And the thing, I don't know if Abby planned this when she was writing these books, but Like, I obviously read them in order, got to Rush Too Far and was enjoying just being back at the beginning and learning about why Rush did things and what he was going through, and then I just felt like continuing on and just reading. I feel like with these books you could just read them over and over again. So I ended up reading the first book twice in 24 hours because I loved it so much. I ended up reading Never Too Far and Forever Too Far one night. I didn't go to bed till like 5 AM. I was too tired to then continue on to Rush Too Far, but I woke up at like 9 o'clock the next day and read this until lunchtime. That is how obsessed I am. On my blog I actually have a playlist for these books because, again, that's how obsessed I am. So I gave books 1 and 2 5 stars, I gave book 3 4 stars, and I gave book 4 5 stars. I have reviews up on my blog at the moment for the first 3 books. I still have not got around to writing one for Rush Too Far, but definitely recommend these books. I'm going to stop talking about them now because I'll be here all day. The other book that I read this month was Heartless by Marissa Meyer. I was invited to take part in the Pan Macmillan blog tour for this book. And my blog post went up on the 24th of this month. I will link to it below if you are interested. I might be doing a review video for this, I'm not quite sure. Do let me know if you want me to do that. This is the origin story for the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland. And it was absolutely beautiful and amazing and so heartbreaking. I could cry right now thinking about it. So we follow Catherine, who is the daughter of the Marquis and Marchioness, I think that's how you say it, of Rock Turtle Cove. And so she is one of like the higher up ladies in the society. She has the dream to start a bakery with her best friend, who is also her maid, Mary Ann. And she's very fond of baking. She's like one of the best bakers in the land. People have even told her she's better than the king's own bakers. So yeah, she has this dream that she's going to open up a little bakery with her friend, and she's going to have the best bakery in all of Hearts. But she also just happens to be the lady that the king favours, and apparently the king also wants to propose to her, but she doesn't want that. Firstly, Catherine wants to actually find love. She wants to be courted. She wants to fall in love with a guy and, you know, just do... She wants to be courted by a guy. She wants to fall in love with him rather than just be proposed and have to be in a loveless marriage. Also, the king is kind of a buffoon. He's kind of like a big child. He's a bit dim. He's well-meaning but dim. And I mean, I can see why she doesn't want to be with him. And she just does not understand why he's taken an interest in her. They don't speak much. And just as the king is about to announce his intentions to marry at the black and white ball, Catherine flees, but just after they watch a performance by the new court joker, Jest. She ends up fleeing the scene before the king can make this announcement, and she ends up fainting because she's wearing a corset that's like 10 times tighter than because it's like not and because she's wearing a corset that is like way too tight for her, she ends up fainting outside, and Jess sort of rescues her kind of thing, and she realizes he's actually been in her dreams before. He is really good looking, and she ends up realizing that she's developing feelings for Jest, and she knows nothing can ever happen because firstly, she's being pursued by the king, and secondly, her parents would never allow her to, you know, be courted or marry someone way below her. But so while Catherine is trying to continue pursuing this dream of opening a bakery, Jest and her somehow convinced the king that girls want to be courted, and so the king starts courting her, which is a very, you know, everyone thinks, oh, it's kind of weird, but whatever, it's the king, we'll go with it. And he starts sending her flowers and poems and everything, but Catherine knows that the person behind the poems isn't the king but actually Jest, and they sort of start a little romance on the side. And then Jest reveals what he's doing in Hearts. I don't want to spoil it, but it's heartbreaking and beautiful. And then we I really don't know how to say this. And then obviously near the end of the book, Catherine goes through something completely life-shattering and altering, which is why she becomes Heartless, and she becomes the Queen of Hearts that we all know from Alice in Wonderland, why she continuously wants to execute people, why she doesn't like white roses or lemon tarts. I'm gonna cry. I kid you not. And I feel like this might spoil things, but I feel like you'll probably get where this book is going when you start reading it. I literally turned into a blubbering mess reading this book. Not funny, like to the point where like my nose got blocked and everything. Such a blubbering mess. And I just can't believe it affected me that much. It was insane. This book is seriously so beautifully written. I love Marissa Meyer's description of Wonderland. I always felt like Lewis Carroll's Wonderland, like I liked how he described it, but the way he wrote his book was a little bit weird. But the way Marissa Meyer describes Wonderland in here, it's just so immersive. I seriously felt like I fell down the rabbit hole in this book and didn't want to leave Wonderland. I feel like she could write more books about Wonderland and I would want to read it. She could talk about probably paint drying in Wonderland and I'd want to read it. It was just so well done. I really loved Kath and Jess in this story. Their romance was so cute and so... And I think because I just come off the back of reading the Too Far series, where that's all about romance and everything, I just felt like this was a perfect read for after that because I was still in that mindset of romance and things like that. I ended up giving this 4.5 out of 5 stars. The reason why I think I knocked off half a star is because of the ending. Like, obviously throughout this entire book it was inevitable that Catherine would have to go through something that was going to change her to make her the character we know from the Wonderland series. But reading this book, I kept forgetting that that's who I was reading about because I was just so caught up in the story. And while I liked the ending for what it was meant to be, what it was inevitably meant to be, I didn't like it because I didn't want it to be that sort of ending. I wanted a nice, happy ending, and we just didn't get it. And I really want Marissa Meyer to just rewrite this story in a way that the ending is happy. Like, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a good thing that I don't like the ending in the way that Marissa did such a fantastic job writing it that you just can't help but hate how it ended because of everything that happened. But in that sense, I think it perfectly described why the Queen of Hearts is why she's like she is. And yeah, I really like this, definitely recommend it. I've never read anything by Marissa Meyer before, so going into this I didn't really know what to expect from her writing, but I really loved her writing in this book. I'm so excited now to read the Lunar Chronicles, and I've heard that people who didn't like this book so much still really like the Lunar Chronicles, so I'm hopeful that because I really liked this book, I'm really gonna like the Lunar Chronicles. I don't know, but I love this so much. Like, it's just beautiful and heartbreaking. I'm gonna warn you now, this is somewhat of a spoiler. Like, please be prepared for a heartbreak because I don't want you guys to be a blubbering mess like I was. Anyway, highly recommended. So they are the books that I read during the month of November. I loved every single one of them. They literally were beautifully written. All of them broke my heart for different reasons. I think I cried in every single book. I mean, it's not hard to make me cry in books. I cry very easily in books, but the fact that all the books I read this month made me cry, but they also made me smile and they made me laugh, so it's okay. If you've read any of these books, let me know your thoughts in them. I will link below to my review for all of these books so you can read that as well, and I will see you guys soon with my December TBR. Bye!